when hinges creak in doors chambers, where candlelights flicker though the air is deathly still. Welcome, curious friends. It is so nice to have guests. You may not believe it, but beauty once lived in this house. Now, curious souls, come, I have more to show you.
Will you marry me?
Welcome, foolish mortals, to Imagineering Horizons. In honor of the reopening of Ravenswood Manor in just a few days, I am here today to talk about a forgotten secret of Phantom Manor. So as they say, look alive. I would hate to lose you so soon. Over the past year, my obsession with Phantom Manor and its extremely engaging story has grown very fast, as you can see here on this chart that I made. I was lucky enough to visit Disneyland Paris for the first time last December, and it totally lived up to everything I thought it would be, except something was missing. Walking into Frontierland, into the old ghost town of Thunder Mesa, the old manor on the hill was empty. This was because of the refurbishment that Disney had been working on and continually delaying again and again and again and again. Anyway, this refurbishment was supposed to add on to the original story of Phantom Manor and finally reveal the questions that people have been wondering since the ride had opened in 1992. Who's the Phantom? Why did the bride never leave after all of her fiancés coincidentally kept dying in brutal and very sadistic ways? Is anyone even feeding the dogs? Seriously, what is it with the haunted mansions and malnourished dogs? My point is, even though I didn't actually go inside Phantom Manor, I was able to walk around the remains of Boot Hill Cemetery, which looks out over at Big Thunder Mountain. As I was walking around, I noticed that Phantom Manor doesn't have a horse carriage like the other haunted mansions in Florida and California do. This isn't really a big deal, so the thought passed and I continued having a Disney day. Scratch that. Thankfully, before I jump right into the intense lore behind Thunder Mesa, I'm here to give you all at home a crash course on the tragedy of the Ravenswood family. So yeah, back in the Wild West days, a dude named Henry Ravenswood was the first to strike gold at Big Thunder Mountain, which started a huge gold rush that led to the brand new town of Thunder Mesa. The native Indians that used to live around the mountain gave vague warnings about a thunderbird that protected Big Thunder Mountain and will punish whoever disturbs it. Obviously, nobody listened and continued on their quest to get rich quick. Henry used his new fortune to make a huge mansion that looked over the whole town for his wife and young daughter Melanie, who grew up isolated in the manor's gardens. As she grew older, Melanie attracted a bunch of suitors, and Henry, being the overprotective 19th century dad that he was, didn't really like that at all. One by one, each of her suitors died in very suspicious accidents, but that didn't stop Melanie on her quest for love, since she found a miner named Jake who wanted to marry her and take her far, far away from Thunder Mesa. However, right before their wedding, a huge earthquake destroyed half of Thunder Mesa. and killed Henry and his wife, leaving nothing in Melanie's way to get married. On the special day, a mysterious phantom, the angry spirit of Henry Ravenswood, lured the groom into the attic and hung him since no man was ever good enough for his daughter. Yikes. Since Melanie didn't notice, it caused her to wait for the groom that never showed for days, months, and years. Ravenswood Manor was shut off from the rest of Thunder Mesa after people kept mysteriously disappearing, and so the townspeople decided to call it Phantom Manor. Now that you're up to speed of the backstory of Phantom Manor, we can begin with the topic of this video. I'm also working on putting together a separate video which is going to be a fully detailed retelling of the Thunder Mesa story, so if by the time you're watching this that video is actually up, I highly suggest you watch that, since I think it's just a really awesome story. So, one day I was searching to see if any new updates were revealed on when Phantom Manor would reopen after the huge refurbishment, and I came across this great article by the fan website called Ravenswood Manor. This is where Phantom Manor's forgotten secret begins. Like with all projects, development goes through a bunch of unused concepts and ideas, so it's not a surprise that an ambitious attraction like Phantom Manor would have some shelved ideas. Thanks to an interview with Imagineer Jeff Burke, I'll be talking about a forgotten barn that would have been inside the Phantom Manor queue that would have revealed to us who the Phantom was way sooner than 2019, as well as fleshing out the story even more. It took me a couple weeks to piece together all of the pictures and evidence that this thing even existed, since the only time it was even seen was in a maquette model that Imagineering made, along with a couple pieces of concept art. As guests would walk up into the gardens of Ravenswood Manor, instead of the outdoor patio that you would see today, in its place would be a 2-story wooden barn. Inside of the barn would be Henry Ravenswood's collection of fine horse carriages, along with a row of horse stables. Each stall would have a silver plaque and a ton of trophies showing off the awards that the Ravenswood family had earned over the years. The barn would have been pitch dark except for the glow of flickering lanterns. If you looked up in the barn, Jeff Burke says that there would have been a collection of shiny blades, sickles, and shears hanging from the ceiling, basically creating a horrifying version of a child's mobile. Every once in a while, the wind would blow in from seemingly nowhere, causing them to clang together. The lanterns above would also show small gaps in the floorboards where creaking footsteps could be heard. However, no shadow would be seen. In case this wasn't bad enough, if you continued through the barn, you would see one isolated horse stall that appeared to be boarded up and sealed, with the name Black Thunder on it. So if you hadn't already chickened out at this point in the line, you would start to hear a horse's hooves grind on the floor as the wind began to get more and more powerful. The noises would get worse as the horse's sounds would turn into panic snorting and neighing as the horse banged more and more frantically from the inside. Suddenly, you would hear Vincent Price's iconic laughter echoing through the walls as the wind stopped, as all returned to normal. You're probably wondering why a concept this cool would have been scrapped, and so did I. So, I did some digging, of course, with nothing whatsoever. If I had to guess though, I would say it was probably cut out for budget reasons, since this seemed to be a show scene of its own, with all the different special effects and detail put into it. However, that's not the end of the Forgotten Barn story though. After I got home to the Sunshine State, I couldn't wait to visit the Magic Kingdom and compare the two castle parks, especially when it came to the differences between the two Frontierlands, Thunder Mesa, and Liberty Square. Before I got in line for the Haunted Mansion, I got a Dole Whip like every normal person, and happily walked along the rivers of America until I made a grave epiphany. Get it? Grave, like tombstone, like scary, like... Okay. On my left was... On my left was a very familiar sight, because behold, there would be a shack with none other than horseshoes inside. Yes, right in front of my very eyes, where the Fast Pass station used to be in the Disney World Haunted Mansion, was a horse upkeeping type place, filled with like horseshoes and other horse stuff and tools. But the main point is there's horseshoes, and it's like right in the same location as it would have been in Phantom Manor. So I was basically ecstatic when I saw this, because I was trying to figure out if this idea just died or did it get reused, and obviously it did, because all the horseshoes in this shack are all facing down for, you know, bad luck. And I feel like this is how that concept got evolved, even if it wasn't as grandiose as the original would have been planned. So, it's still pretty cool. So there you have it. As our journey into Phantom Manor ends, I hope that you watched this video and figured out just a little bit more of the history and detail behind Phantom Manor that didn't make it to opening day. So, if you enjoyed this video, if you could like, comment, or subscribe, that would be great. Or a ghost will follow you home. Wahaha. Ha. Serious though, please help.